Have you ever observed how some people seem to have an almost mystical ability to control the energy around them? Without uttering a word, they don't chase, don't explain. They simply retreat. And in that silence, everything changes. The energy shifts. People become drawn to them. Respect emerges unexpectedly. It's a reminder that people often overlook what's always available to them, and therein lies the key to reclaiming your peace. When you're constantly at everyone's beck and call, you're not being helpful. You're being drained, emotionally, over and over. Why is it that the more available you are, the more invisible you feel? Could it be that we've been conditioned to neglect ourselves just to be accepted? In this video, we'll uncover the hidden cost of being perpetually available and how choosing intentional silence can reshape your relationships, your presence, and your power. If there's one thing to take from this video, let it be this. You don't have to justify your absence to prove your worth. And stay tuned for the powerful Buddhist bonus lesson at the end. It might change everything. Principle 1. The power of withdrawal. Have you ever wondered why silence can feel so uncomfortable? Why does the thought of being unavailable, even briefly, create a sense of guilt, as though stepping away for a day means you're stepping away from life? We live in a world addicted to reacting to every ping, every expectation, every demand, pulling at us like invisible strings. But what if your true strength lies not in always being available, but in your absence? Like a wise turtle retreating into its shell, real power often comes not from being present, but from taking a purposeful step back. The Buddha once said, "Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, the wise are not moved by praise or blame." In a world consumed by opinions and instant responses, being unmoved is a radical act. There's a story of a monk living near a bustling village. Every day people would come to him with questions, requests, and chaos. One day, he simply vanished into the forest, leaving no explanation. Days turned into weeks, and when he returned, someone asked him why he had disappeared. He smiled and said, "I went to listen, not to them, but to myself." His absence wasn't abandonment, it was alignment. Perhaps that's what you need, too. Not to run away, but to realign. When you're always available, you teach the world that your peace is interruptible. You become a resource, not a person, a responder, not a thinker. But the moment you step back, create sacred pauses, say no to drama, silence the noise, something shifts. People start respecting your boundaries, and most importantly, you begin to respect yourself. How much longer will you let others dictate your worth with their urgency? When will your time finally belong to you again? In Buddhist philosophy, withdrawal isn't a sign of weakness, it's clarity. It's solitude, not as an escape, but as a revelation. The quiet isn't empty. It's full of answers you can't hear when you're too busy pleasing everyone else. Modern life rarely allows for pauses, but mindfulness demands them. Make space in your day where you are unreachable. Not from the world, but from the chaos. Unplug, breathe, listen. Are you still offering your time to people who never offer their presence? Are you still stretching yourself thin for those who wouldn't even notice? When you stop being available to everyone, something powerful happens. You become fully available to yourself, to your values, to your purpose. That's not selfish, that's spiritual maturity. And here's a truth most people won't tell you. Withdrawal is a form of wisdom. It reveals who reaches out when you go silent. It shows you the difference between true connection and convenience. Most importantly, it brings you back to your center. So today, be like the wise turtle. Retreat, not out of fear, but to gain clarity and a better perspective. Practice stillness. Let the world continue to spin without needing to react to every demand. When you stop being everywhere, you finally arrive somewhere, present, peaceful, and powerful. You don't have to be available to everyone just because they expect it. You were never meant to be a lifeline for chaos. Try being unavailable and watch how everything shifts. Principle 2. The energy drain of over-availability. Have you ever felt drained without doing anything physically demanding? Like you gave everything, but somehow you still feel empty? You smile, nod, answer messages, take calls, carry burdens. But by nightfall, your soul feels thin and your breath shallow. You ask yourself, am I tired, or am I just constantly accessed by the wrong people? You're not a machine. You're not a therapist on call. You're not a light switch that turns on every time someone enters your life with a need. You are a sacred river, and if everyone drinks from you without replenishing you, you will eventually run dry. The Buddha once said, "He who knows others is wise. He who knows himself is enlightened." But how can you know yourself when you're always responding to others? How can you grow, reflect, and evolve when your time, energy, and attention are owned by everyone but yourself? I once met a man who shared something I'll never forget. He said, "I used to think burnout came from doing too much, but it wasn't the workload. It was from doing too much for the wrong people." That hits deep, because burnout isn't always caused by overwork. Sometimes it's caused by over-availability, by giving endlessly without pause, purpose, or boundaries. It's time to protect your energy like sacred currency. Audit your life. Who are the people who lift you up and who leaves you feeling drained? Which tasks fill you with joy and which ones steal your peace? Even your social media, does it inspire you or slowly chip away at your self-worth? You don't have to disappear to find peace, but you do need to learn how to say no. Say it kindly. Yes, but say it firmly. Your time is not a public playground. Your energy is not an endless well. What if the reason your dreams aren't growing is because you've been watering everyone else's garden but your own? In Buddhist practice, mindfulness isn't just about breath. It's about being aware of where your energy flows and whether it returns to you. Ask yourself, what could thrive if I stopped watering what drains me? What would happen if just for a while you chose your peace over popularity, your purpose over people-pleasing? Say no, not out of arrogance but out of alignment, not to hurt others but to honor yourself. The right people won't need you to be constantly available. They'll respect you even more when you protect your space. Let this be the moment you stop giving unlimited access to a limited resource. Let this be the moment you choose depth over distraction. In the end, it's not your job to be everything to everyone. It's your responsibility to be whole for yourself. You don't owe everyone a piece of you, especially when you're still learning to feel whole within. Try being less available and watch how your life becomes more meaningful. Principle 3. The illusion of always being needed. Why do you keep showing up when no one's asked you to? Why do you rush to fix, explain, or offer help, even when your soul is whispering that you're exhausted? There's a silent illusion that many of us carry, that to matter, we must always be needed. But what if being needed isn't a sign of love, but a hidden prison? Imagine a candle that never stops burning. Eventually it melts into nothing, not because it wasn't useful, but because it never knew when to rest. The root of suffering, as Buddha taught, is attachment. And one of the strongest attachments we carry is to being important in others' lives. We cling to roles, the fixer, the listener, the helper, without realizing that we're burning out just to prove our worth. There was a woman who always said yes to her co-workers, her friends, her family. She took pride in being dependable, selfless, irreplaceable. But one day, her body said no before her mind could. The stress, the anxiety, the unspoken resentment, they caught up with her, and she asked herself a question she had avoided for years. Who am I when I'm not rescuing anyone? That question changed everything. You're not defined by your usefulness. You are not someone's emotional crutch. You are allowed to rest, to let others face discomfort, to let silence exist without rushing to fill it. Detaching from the need to always be on isn't selfish, it's spiritual clarity. Deep inside, many of us confuse being needed with being loved. But if your worth is built only on what you do for others, you'll never feel secure just being yourself. You'll spend your life performing for applause that fades away. Are you willing to be misunderstood, even judged, if it means protecting your peace? Are you brave enough to disappoint someone else in order to stop abandoning yourself? Buddhist philosophy doesn't teach us to fix everyone's pain. It teaches us to stop clinging to our identities. Sometimes the need to help is just another mask for fear. Fear of being invisible, forgotten. But the truth is, you're allowed to step back. You're allowed to not be essential all the time. Let others grow through their discomfort. Let them solve their own problems. It's not cruel. It's compassionate detachment. And in that space, you'll find your true power, not in doing, but in being, not in proving, but in simply existing with presence and clarity. Stop chasing the illusion of being irreplaceable. You're not here to hold everyone together while you fall apart. Let go of the ego that whispers, if you're not needed, you're not loved. You were never meant to carry everyone's burdens to feel worthy. You don't have to burn endlessly to prove that you shine. Step back, breathe. You are enough, even in stillness. Principle 4. Define what truly matters. You can't be everything to everyone and still be true to yourself. That's the quiet trap. Being pulled in every direction, saying yes because you don't want to disappoint, staying available because you fear being forgotten. But a compass doesn't spin with every breeze. It stays steady, always pointing north. That's how clarity begins, when you decide what truly matters and let go of what doesn't. Ask yourself, are you spending your life on what's urgent or what's essential? There's a story of a man who built a garden. He watered every corner, trimmed every branch, and tended to every leaf. But over time, the soil grew weak, and the plants stopped thriving. Why? Because his energy was scattered. He gave everything to everything, but nothing grew deeply. Then one day, he decided to focus on just 3 areas, only 3. The change was slow, but something powerful happened. The roots deepened, the colors returned, his garden flourished, not because he did more, but because he focused. That's your life. Buddha said, your work is to discover your world, and then, with all your heart, give yourself to it. Not half your heart, not whatever energy is left after people-pleasing, all your heart. Principle 5. You don't need to justify your boundaries. How often have you said no, only to follow it up with a long explanation, justifying why you needed rest, why you couldn't attend, why your energy was too fragile for one more request? Yet have you noticed that others rarely explain their yes in the same way you explain your no? They set their expectations. You seek permission. But here's the truth. You don't need to justify your boundaries. Imagine a sacred temple. Its gates are closed after sunset. No amount of shouting or pleading from outside will open them, not because the temple is cold or unkind, but because it honors what is sacred within. The temple doesn't explain its gates. It simply protects what's sacred. And so must you. Buddha said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." But how can peace live within you when you constantly allow others to determine your limits? When every no you whisper is laced with guilt? When every boundary you set turns into a negotiation? Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors with keys that you choose when to use. They aren't punishments. They're protections. And you have every right to guard your energy, time, and spirit without needing to explain why. I once knew someone who said yes to everything because she didn't want to seem selfish. She overextended, over-explained, and over-apologized. The more she gave, the more people expected. Until one day, she realized that no matter how much she gave, it was never enough, neither for them nor for her own peace. That's when she stopped explaining. She didn't argue or defend herself. She simply said, "I can't." No excuses, no softness. And for the first time, she felt free. Setting a boundary is a spiritual act. It's a declaration. I recognize my limits. I honor my energy. I trust my rhythm. It's not rude. It's not harsh. It's not cruel. It's sacred. So why are you still waiting for others to approve your limits? Why do you feel the need to soften every boundary you set? Your peace is your responsibility. And peace doesn't thrive in over-explanation. It grows in stillness, self-rest, and clarity. Let others react however they may. Their discomfort is not your burden to carry. Your job is not to make everyone comfortable with your truth. Principle 6. Define your own values. There's a quiet kind of suffering that arises when you live your life trying to meet expectations that were never yours to begin with. You say yes when you mean no. You stay silent when your soul longs to speak. You overextend yourself, not because it aligns with your heart, but because it keeps the peace. But peace, built on self-betrayal, is no peace at all. A mountain doesn't bow to passing clouds. It stands firm, anchored in its truth. And so must you. Every day you're faced with choices, and in each of them there's a subtle pull to be liked, accepted, or to feel safe through someone else's approval. But what if the real goal isn't to be understood by everyone, but to be true to yourself? Buddha once said, "It is better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles." Because the real victory is not out there. It's in aligning your external life with your internal truth. Most people live reactively, allowing the moods and opinions of others to dictate their actions. But Buddhism teaches us clarity, stillness, and self-honesty. It shows us that the path to freedom begins with knowing what you stand for, not what others want you to stand for. Have you ever asked yourself, what do I value most? Not what sounds good, but what feels true. Is it peace, integrity, simplicity, creativity, compassion? Write it down. Just 3 core values. Then ask yourself, does my availability reflect these values or betray them? There was a man who spent years saying yes to every request, not because he wanted to, but because he didn't want to seem selfish. He lost sleep helping others. He canceled plans with himself. He abandoned his art, his time, his breath, all in the name of being nice, until one day his body burned out and his spirit followed. That's when he sat down and asked, what do I really believe in? From that day on, every decision, including who he made himself available to, was filtered through those values. He disappointed a few people, but he finally stopped disappointing himself. The more clearly you define your values, the less available you'll be to things that don't align. And that's not arrogance, that's self-respect. If someone misunderstands your path, let them. You're not here to prove your worth, you're here to live it. So ask yourself, are you betraying your truth just to avoid being misunderstood? What would shift if your values came first, even if it meant letting go of roles, relationships, or rhythms that no longer serve you? Let your values be your mountain, steady, unmoving, rooted. Let your availability reflect your soul, not your fears. And remember, the world doesn't need a more agreeable version of you. It needs a more authentic one. There comes a time when you realize that the applause you've been chasing isn't real nourishment. It's just noise. Temporary, conditional, fleeting. Principle 7, detachment from validation. You bend, you perform, you stay available. Not out of joy, but out of the desperate hope that someone will see you, appreciate you, validate your existence. But like the moon, your light doesn't dim because the world stops looking. It's time to stop living for the reaction. Buddhism teaches that praise and blame, gain and loss, pleasure and sorrow come and go like the wind. So why tie your peace to things that shift so easily? Many people remain available not out of generosity, but because they fear being forgotten. They fear silence. They fear invisibility. So they keep saying yes, keep showing up, keep pleasing, just to feel needed. But that availability, that constant proving, is a prison disguised as kindness. And the moment you stop feeding off approval, you'll finally taste the sweetness of freedom. There's a story of a monk who lived alone on a quiet mountainside. Visitors rarely came. No social media, no applause, no recognition. But his presence was radiant, grounded, complete. One day, a traveler asked, "How are you so at peace when no one sees you?" The monk smiled and said, "Because I see myself." Ask yourself, is your availability an offering or a plea to be loved? If no one praised your kindness, would you still be kind? If no one clapped when you sacrificed, would you still give? And if not, then who are you really doing it for? When you stop needing validation, you start becoming selective, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. You realize your energy is sacred. Sacred things aren't put on display for approval. They are protected, revered, and offered with intention. Social media, relationships, even the workplace, all invite you to perform, to be liked, to be noticed. But true spiritual growth begins when you can sit in your own company without needing the world to clap for it. When being unseen doesn't make you feel unloved. When being misunderstood doesn't make you explain yourself. What if the people who don't see your light were never meant to? What if the silence wasn't rejection, but redirection? What if being uninvited meant being called back to yourself? Be okay with being so overlooked. Be okay with walking away from applause that costs your peace. When validation is no longer your currency, peace becomes your wealth. You stop performing. You start being. You stop chasing. You start receiving. Detachment doesn't mean indifference. It means no longer tying your worth to something outside of you. You are the moon. Whether the world watches or not, you shine. So step back, log off, say no, and let the world spin without your constant involvement. Because the moment you stop being available for validation is the moment you become available for peace. Principle 8. Stop rescuing, start releasing. You were never meant to carry the world on your back. Yet somewhere along the way, you began picking up pieces that were never yours to hold. Their emotions, their regrets, their chaos. You began rescuing people, not out of strength, but out of guilt, out of fear that if you didn't hold everything together, everything would fall apart. But here's the truth. A bird that carries others cannot fly, and you were born to soar. There's a fine line between love and over-responsibility, between support and sacrifice. Buddhism teaches us that letting go doesn't mean getting rid of. It means letting be. This isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming wise. You can care deeply without draining yourself. You can love without losing yourself in the process. Think of a time when you stayed up worrying over someone else's choices, when you gave advice that was never followed, when you felt guilty for saying no, even when your soul whispered yes. That wasn't compassion. That was attachment dressed in concern. You weren't helping. You were enabling. You weren't guiding. You were rescuing. And rescuing feels noble until it becomes your identity, until your worth is measured by how much you give and how little you receive. But love that requires you to break yourself isn't love. It's imbalance. What would happen if you stopped trying to fix everyone else and started trusting them to walk their own path? There's an ancient Buddhist story of a man crossing a river. Along the way, he builds a raft to carry him through the current. He carefully crafts it with great attention. But once he reaches the far shore, he continues carrying the raft on his back, even though it no longer serves him. The moral is simple. Just as you don't need to carry the raft after reaching the shore, you don't need to keep carrying burdens that no longer belong to you. Principle 8. Stop rescuing, start releasing. When the man reaches the other side, he continues walking, but he carries the raft on his back. A monk stops him and asks, "Why are you carrying the raft? You've already crossed." The man replies, "Because it helped me once." The monk smiles and says, "Then honor it and let it go." Some people are your raft. Some problems are temporary crossings. But if you keep carrying them long after their purpose has passed, they become your burden. You have to ask yourself, am I helping or just holding on? It takes courage to let go, to watch someone struggle, to allow others to grow through discomfort. But that is what real love looks like, not control, not rescue, but trust. You're not responsible for saving everyone. You're responsible for saving your peace. So take a breath, step back, let them face their own storms. And when they rise, it won't be because you saved them. It will be because you believed they could save themselves. That's the gift. That's the freedom. That's the letting go. Because when you stop being available for everyone's healing, you become available for your own. And maybe, just maybe, that's when everything begins to change. Principle 9. Digital silence is a sacred act. There's a kind of silence that heals. Not the absence of sound, but the absence of noise. Digital noise, constant updates, endless scrolling. We've normalized distraction and called it connection. But Buddhism teaches, drop by drop is the water pot filled. The same is true in reverse. Each alert, each ping, each mindless scroll slowly empties your peace. Not all thieves wear masks. Some live inside your phone. Your mind is a garden. Every thought is a seed. What grows depends on what you feed it. But how can anything meaningful grow when notifications are weeds, choking your focus, hijacking your emotions, and dragging you away from presence? Think about it. How often do you check your phone before you check in with yourself? How often do you scroll, not because you want to, but because you forgot how to be still? We live in a world that rewards availability. Quick replies, instant updates, constant reachability. But availability is not the same as value. You don't become more worthy by being more accessible. You don't become more loved by being more online. In fact, the more digitally connected you are, the more you risk being spiritually disconnected from your breath, your values, your soul. The path to clarity isn't found in more noise. It's found in sacred silence. What would happen if you started protecting your mornings like a monk? No apps, no endless feeds. Just breathe. Just awareness. Just presence. Could you allow yourself a screen-free sunrise? Could you end your day with reflection instead of reels? It's not about abandoning technology. It's about mastering it. Use your phone as a tool, not a master. If it drains you, redesign your relationship with it. Remove the apps that trigger comparison. Silence the accounts that hijack your joy. Do you follow people or distractions? Do you scroll out of purpose or escape? There's a beautiful freedom in choosing digital silence, scheduling time to not be reachable, reclaiming your attention as sacred. That silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. In that space, you begin to hear your own voice again. You return to center. You begin to remember who you are without the influence of everyone else. Imagine this. Every morning, instead of grabbing your phone, place a hand on your heart. Ask yourself, what do I want to feel today? Move from reactive to intentional. Live from the inside out. That shift is everything. Because when you stop being available to every buzz, beep, and trend, you become available to stillness. Principle 10. Choose inner stillness over outer access. In stillness, you don't just find peace, you become it. Your energy deserves protection. Your mind deserves silence. Your life deserves intention. So ask yourself, is your phone a tool or a master? If it's stealing your presence, maybe the most radical act of self-love is this. Put it down, breathe, and return to the temple of now. Imagine a pond, its surface perfectly still, mirroring the sky above. Now picture the same pond disturbed by a stone, creating ripples that distort the reflection, turning clarity into chaos. This is how our minds often operate, constantly disturbed by external noise, distractions, and the endless pull of urgency. True clarity, true peace, comes when we allow the surface to settle. When we choose stillness over stimulation. Buddhism teaches us that stillness reflects truth, while turbulence clouds our perception. In today's world, we're taught to respond quickly, to react to everything, emails, messages, demands. Urgency becomes our second nature. But what if this constant state of readiness is simply noise? What if your urgency isn't real but a reaction to the outside world trying to control your inner peace? The need to always be available, to always respond immediately, can lead us into a cycle of stress where our own voice gets lost in the din of external expectations. Buddha's wisdom offers a gentle challenge. Meditate, live purely, be quiet, do your work with mastery. These words point to a life where stillness, not availability, becomes the foundation. Instead of reacting instantly, you learn to pause. You learn to let things settle. In meditation, we don't chase thoughts. We observe them, allowing them to drift away. This is the practice of detaching from the noise of the world and finding your true center. Imagine the freedom that comes when you stop reacting immediately and allow your inner stillness to guide you. When was the last time you chose silence over stimulation? When was the last time you sat in stillness, letting the world continue around you, while you remained anchored in peace? Our constant need to be available and responsive can lead us to overlook the power of stillness. But in stillness, we reconnect with who we truly are. We see things clearly, without distortion, The world can continue spinning, but we no longer feel the need to chase it. The more you embrace this stillness, the more you discover how much peace lies beyond the external world's demands. The truth is, you don't need to be available to everything to succeed. You don't need to constantly respond to be valuable. In fact, it's often in those moments of pause, in those moments of silence, that the most profound insights arise. So ask yourself, is your urgency real? Or is it just the noise of the outside world trying to pull you in every direction? When you stop reacting impulsively and choose stillness instead, you begin to make decisions with clarity, not chaos. You begin to create a life that reflects your true values, not the demands of others. Choose stillness over access. Choose peace over pressure. Let your mind become like that still pond, reflecting truth in its calmness, unshaken by the turbulence of the world. Principle 11. Release the need to be understood. The ocean never explains its waves. It simply moves, undeterred by the onlookers on the shore. Imagine for a moment if the ocean paused every time it was misunderstood. If it tried to explain itself to every curious observer, it would never flow. It would never be true to its nature. And yet we often find ourselves in this very trap, trying to justify our choices, seeking approval, and shrinking ourselves to fit others' expectations. But what if the key to your peace lies in releasing the need to be understood? Like the ocean, you were never meant to explain yourself to every onlooker. You are meant to live true to your essence, regardless of who notices or understands. When you stop seeking validation, when you stop bending to others' opinions, you align more deeply with your own truth. Releasing the need to be understood isn't about shutting others out. It's about stepping into the fullness of your own being without apology. When you live authentically, your energy speaks louder than any explanation ever could. So ask yourself, are you living for others' understanding or for your own peace? In the silence of self-trust, the world's judgments lose their grip. And in that space, you can finally hear your own voice clearly, without the need for approval. The Buddhist journey toward peace. In the Buddhist tradition, the journey toward peace begins with letting go of the constant need to be right or to be seen in a certain light. Let go of being right, be still and know. These words are a profound reminder that true peace cannot be found in external validation. It is found when you stop explaining yourself to others, stop seeking their approval, and begin to honor your own truth, even if others don't get it. Think about it. How many times have you made a decision, a choice, or taken a step on your path, only to feel the need to justify it to others? Whether it's your career, your relationships, or your personal journey, the desire to be understood can be a silent force that drains your energy and leads you away from your own path. Every time you shrink to be liked, every time you explain your silence, you give away a piece of your authenticity, a piece of your peace. The truth is, not everyone will understand your journey. Not everyone will understand why you need solitude, why you need to say no, or why you are walking a path that doesn't fit their expectations. But what if that was okay? What if you didn't need to explain yourself? What if your peace mattered more than their approval? Imagine walking your path so confidently, so lovingly, that you no longer feel the need to seek anyone's validation. Instead, you stand firmly in your truth, allowing your journey to unfold without apology. This is the essence of Buddhist mindfulness, moving with the flow of life, undisturbed by the need for others to understand. It is about cultivating an inner stillness where your peace comes from within, not from external approval. As you walk this path, ask yourself, am I shrinking to be liked? Am I compromising my truth to fit into someone else's expectations? Your peace is more important than their approval. And when you stop seeking external validation, you begin to realize that your journey is yours to own. You begin to love your path enough to walk it alone, knowing that in your solitude, you are never truly alone. The ocean moves without explanation. It doesn't seek approval, and yet it remains vast, powerful, and free. Let your life be like that, flowing, unshaken by the need to be understood, and at peace with the mystery of your own journey. Bonus lesson: embrace sacred solitude. In the stillness of a quiet pond, a lotus bloom. It doesn't fight the mud beneath it or the chaos around it. It simply rises, untouched, serene, beautiful in its solitude. Much like the lotus, you have the power to bloom in the stillness of your own being. But too often we're overwhelmed by the noise of life, the constant demand to be available, to be needed, to be seen. We forget that true growth often happens, not when we're reaching outward, but when we turn inward. In Buddhism, solitude is not something to fear or avoid. It's a sacred space for healing and reflection. When was the last time you allowed yourself to simply be with your thoughts, your feelings, without the need to fix anything or do anything? We live in a world where distractions are constant, and the demand to be always available is louder than ever. Social media, work, relationships, they all pull us in different directions, and we begin to lose sight of ourselves in the process. But there is immense power in being alone. Solitude is not loneliness. It is a sacred act of self-witnessing, a chance to listen deeply to what your soul is trying to say. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. These words remind us that our thoughts shape our reality. And if we're constantly responding to external noise, we lose the chance to tune in to the quiet wisdom within. The busy, chaotic world may demand your presence, but if you never take the time to step away, you'll miss the chance to reconnect with the deepest parts of yourself. Solitude isn't just a break from the world. It's an opportunity to realign with your inner truth, to heal from the noise that over-availability creates. Imagine what might unfold if you took sacred time each day to simply be alone with yourself, not to fix anything, not to solve problems, but simply to be with yourself in stillness. In this sacred solitude, you will find the space to reconnect, realign, and remember your true essence. The power of withdrawal. Step back from noise, urgency, and constant engagement. Choose moments of retreat to center yourself and regain clarity. True strength lies in deliberate disconnection. Withdrawing doesn't mean weakness, it's wisdom in motion. Energy, boundaries, over-availability drains your energy. Saying yes to everything spreads your energy too thin. Recognize what drains your peace and create energetic boundaries. Your time and attention are sacred. Use them with intention, not obligation. The illusion of always being needed, you're not responsible for everyone's happiness or healing. Constantly being needed is often a disguise for codependency or ego validation. Let go of the savior complex and reclaim your inner balance. Define what truly matters. Align your life with your top priorities. Every decision should honor your core values. When your life is built around what truly matters, clarity and peace naturally follow. Boundaries protect what's sacred. You don't need to justify your boundaries or owe anyone explanations for choosing peace. Set boundaries without guilt or defense. Be clear, kind, and firm. Define your own values. Your life must be shaped by your truth, not others' expectations. Stay rooted in your values, even if it means walking a path alone. Integrity begins with honoring your inner compass, detachment from validation. Let go of the need to be liked, seen, or applauded. Seeking constant validation disconnects you from your authentic self. Real peace begins when your worth no longer depends on external approval. Stop rescuing, start releasing. You are not responsible for fixing other people's lives. Let others face their own lessons while you focus on your path. Supporting others doesn't mean self-sacrificing. Digital silence is a sacred act. Technology steals your attention if you're not conscious. Create daily rituals of silence by unplugging from devices and digital noise. Presence is the new luxury. Protect it. Choose inner stillness over outer access. Prioritize peace over performance. Inner stillness is where wisdom grows, while constant availability feeds stress. Silence allows your deepest truth to surface. Release the need to be understood. Not everyone will understand your silence, your no, or your healing, and that's okay. Let go of the need to explain and start walking in your own light. Embrace sacred solitude. Solitude is a sacred act of self-witnessing, a chance to reconnect with your inner truth and wisdom. True growth happens when we turn inward, not outward, finding strength and peace in our own company. These principles are about cultivating peace, clarity, and inner strength through boundaries, self-awareness, and letting go of external distractions and validation. They encourage us to honor our truth, protect our energy, and embrace moments of silence and solitude for personal growth. Solitude versus loneliness, and solitude is spiritual alignment, not loneliness. It's about reconnecting with your inner self and finding peace without external distractions. The power of saying no. True power comes from choosing when to engage and when to walk away, without guilt or apology. You don't owe everyone your time or energy, and your peace should be protected. Over-availability has self-abandonment. Constantly being available isn't an act of kindness. It can be self-abandonment. When you're always available to others, you often neglect your own growth, passions, and healing. Reflecting truth through stillness. The mind, like water, reflects truth only when it's still. To truly understand your thoughts and emotions, you must create space for stillness and silence, free from external noise. Zen teachings on authenticity. Zen philosophy teaches that letting go of who you think you should be allows you to become who you truly are. This process isn't about creating walls, but creating space for your soul to breathe. Protecting your energy is sacred. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's sacred. You don't need to earn rest or prove your worth. You are enough as you are. Restoring purpose and clarity. Pausing, breathing, and redrawing your life with purpose allows you to move through the world with stillness, clarity, and quiet strength. This message reminds us of the importance of solitude for spiritual alignment and growth. It teaches us how to prioritize our inner peace and protect our energy, rather than feeling obligated to constantly be available or seek external validation. Through Zen and Buddhist teachings, it encourages us to embrace stillness and reflect on who we truly are, free from the pressures of the outside world.